So you started using Teams, and now you want to get all of your files that were stored somewhere, probably in the shared drive or SharePoint, into Teams files. I'm going to show you 3 ways of moving your files over, and skipping ahead, the third way is the best way, so keep watching. Okay, so like I said, there's 3 ways of moving your files over. The first way we're going to look at is just directly into Teams and let you know some of the limitations about doing it that way. Second way is via SharePoint, which you need a different browser for potentially, so anything but Internet Explorer. Well, I'll show you how to get that. And the third way, which I said is the best way, is via OneDrive Sync. So if you don't know anything about OneDrive, we'll touch on that a bit later. But first way is just directly in Teams itself, so let's take a look at that. So I'm in an old project team just to use for illustration purposes, and we're in the Files tab, which is where we want to move our files to. So say I've got some folder structure already in the old place I used to store my files. So it was the shared drive. I've got 2 folders, and in folder 1 I've got 2 files, and in folder 2 I've got file 3 and 4. So I just want to move everything over that I used to work on and move it into Teams. So there's a few ways you can do that directly in Teams. Obviously in the Files tab, you've got the Upload button. And let's just take a look at how that's going to work. So I just want to move everything over. I might select both of these folders and then want to click Upload, and they'll both go over and keep the folder structure. If I do it through Teams, it's not going to let me. So see, when I clicked Open, it's just opened the first folder. So I can select multiple files and then click Open, and that'll upload those files into Teams. But you can see I've lost that folder structure, so they've just appeared in the main folder here. So if we get rid of those, there's a slightly different way. So we can go into our folder structure, select both folders, and then drag those onto Teams where it says drop your files here. And again, that'll move the files over, but it's going to lose your file structure. So you can see it's put all of the files just in without any folder structure here. So that's not the best way either. So let's just delete those. So if you wanted to do it in Teams, you didn't have many files to move, then this is the quickest way. You don't need to go anywhere else. So you could set up, if you already had some folders set up here, so if we did folder 1 and created that from scratch, and then did new folder, call that folder 2, then you could set your folder structure up and then just drag folder 1 over, copy those files, upload both those files into folder 1, and then go back into folder 2, and then drag folder 2 on top of Teams and copy those files. So if you didn't have very many folders, then this is the quickest way to do it, because you don't have to go anywhere else. But if you're moving everything over that you used to work on and you want to move it in bulk into Teams, probably to step 2 or step 3 are going to be better for you. So let's have a look at the second way to get your files and folders into Teams. And this way we're going to be using SharePoint. So if we go back into Teams and in the Files tab, in any Files tab and any folder in Files, you'll see this option at the top which says Open in SharePoint. And that's just going to open the web version of your files in Teams. So you can see we've got exactly the same thing here that we did in Teams, which is no files in there at the moment. Now I'm using Google Chrome as my default browser, and that's for a good reason. So Microsoft don't recommend that you use Internet Explorer anymore because they are about to stop supporting it. It's only kept around for legacy stuff. If you use Internet Explorer, this method that I'm about to show you won't work because it won't let you drag the files on top of it. So you'll need to get Google Chrome if you haven't got Windows 10. If you haven't got Windows 10, you can just use Edge, but I'll show you in a different video, so click one of the links below and I'll show you how to get Google Chrome if you haven't already. But assuming you've got Chrome, you might not have it as your default, so when you clicked Open in SharePoint, that might have opened SharePoint in Internet Explorer. You can just copy the URL from the top and paste it into Chrome. But assuming you've managed to find yourself to Chrome and in this view of SharePoint, then if you want to move all of your files over, once you've got to this point, it's really as easy as selecting all the folders you want and then just dragging them onto the window. You see it says copy there, so you know it's going to work correctly. Let go, uploading your items up here, and you'll see it's kept the folder structure that we had originally. If we go back to Teams, that's going to show us exactly the same thing. You might have to refresh the view, but then you'll see that all the folder structure appears in Teams as well. So if you've got a lot of files and folder structure to move over, and you've got Google Chrome, or you want to get it, then this is a very quick way to move all of your files and folders over into Teams. But instead of saving the best for last, and if you've got OneDrive or you use OneDrive already, should be installed on your computer, option 3 is the best option for a number of reasons, not least because you can sync your files for offline use. So if you're on a train or traveling to a customer, or you might just have some flaky Wi-Fi or mobile signal, then this is going to make sure that you can get your files even when you've got no connectivity. It'll also, as soon as you've got connectivity, it'll sync and everything will be in line again. So the way to do that again is to open your file view in SharePoint. So we're in Files tab of whichever channel you want to sync. Open it in SharePoint, and then as long as you've got the latest version of OneDrive, which you should have, you can double check by clicking the OneDrive icon in the bottom right hand corner, and as long as you've got quite a big pop-up and not a little small box, then that means you've probably got the latest version of OneDrive. So assuming you've got to this stage, you've got your view of the files and folders you want to sync in Teams, which may be empty, but we can set it up so anything will ever sync in the future when files get added in there. You'll see there's just a little sync button at the top of the screen. So if we click sync, it's going to pop us up a dialog box. We've got something from Chrome saying, do you want to open OneDrive, which we do. And then you get a window saying, what do you want to sync? So you can sync anything in Teams or in SharePoint, because SharePoint is just the bit that handles files in Teams. So you want to make sure that you're in the right folder, so you probably don't want to sync everything in the entire team, especially in the COP team, because that's going to be a lot of files that's going to take up space on your hard drive. You probably want to sync, if you're an account manager, just your account, and if you're a support function, probably just your folder in general that relates to your function. But in this one we're syncing everything to do with recap testing, because that's where we're in. The team is recap and the channel is testing. And you see there's nothing in there right now, but we're going to sync all the files and folders anyway. So if we start sync, then OneDrive does a little pop-up at the bottom of the screen to say it's syncing. It won't take very long because there's nothing there. But what that does do then, if you're used to using OneDrive, is where you've got the OneDrive icon on the left-hand side of your Explorer window, where you can see all of your personal files, you'll now get another little icon which is where all of your synced files from SharePoint sites will appear. So you can see I've got a few different ones that I've synced already, and this is the one that I just synced now, which is Recap Core Project Team Testing. And then basically, if I go in there, obviously there's nothing there because we haven't put anything there yet. But what this enables you to do is, now it's synced, it acts like any other folder in Windows. So if we open another Explorer window and navigate to where we put the test folder that we want to move over, and I can just assume this is where all your files were in the J drive, got folder 1 and 2, same as before, 4 files in, I'll just drag them over to another Explorer window, which is where we've synced the channel. And you see we get a little blue icon to say it's syncing now back up to the cloud. So once those ticks are green, then they'll now appear back in Teams. So again, if we refresh the view, you can see folder 1 and 2 in there. But now we've got an offline copy, so even if I don't have Wi-Fi now, I can get to the channel, and then all my files are folded in there, and I can open them and work on them from that location or from going back into Teams. So that's probably the best way of syncing your files and having an offline copy as well. So I hope that was useful. If you like this, then make sure to like the post, give us a comment, and let us know what you thought. See you in the next video.